are the second group of people to see this presentation. Last night, North County Shooting Center was the first group of people to see the presentation. So this is brand spanking new.
Did they like it?
They did. They really liked it because they were getting to decide.
Right here?
What's that?
You saying we're second right here?
It was a lot hotter in the room at North County Shooting Center last night, so we started with some hot yoga. That got people going, but it's not hot enough here to do that. Okay, so I'll try to run this in about 45 minutes is my goal, and see if we can get this knocked out. So there's a bit of information, and we're going to see a video, 2-minute video, over and over and over again, because you're going to see different things. I watched this video probably 100 times. Easy. Watching it seconds at a time. What's happening in this 3-second burst? What am I missing when I watch the whole thing? Because too much is happening. I want to look here, I want to look here, I want to look here. So we'll see it 4 or 5 times, and you'll pick up different things from it, and I'll try to direct you to things. First thing that we need to do, though, is what are we talking about? This is a case where the district attorney charged a murder out of Escondido in August of 2021. And like a lot of bad things that happened in Escondido, this happened at Senor Chiquitos. That seems to be a place where a lot of bad stuff happens in Escondido. You get a lot of calls, you get a lot of shootings, you get a lot of stabbings. But they have a really good fish taco. So you might be able to overlook all the other crap, you'll get a good taco.
It's the die for.
It's to die for. Oh, that's good.
The video you're going to see in this case is from the gas station that's right next to Senor Chiquitos, and they have a really good camera. And I learned something in this case, that technology today is just unbelievable. Because this is a fixed camera you're going to see on the gas station shooting over the pumps. And when the police received that, they were able to make it so that this fixed camera was moving. And then they zoomed it in, as if somebody was physically working the camera while they were looking at what was happening. The entirety of this event is captured on video, from the initial argument to the shooting. It's all on video. You don't physically see the shooting because the shooting happens in the back seat of a car. But you do see the shots being fired into the back seat of the car. So it's a fascinating case. And we'll figure out what it is. You'll decide what you think you would have done with this if you were a juror on the case, and then I'll give you the punchline.
Punchline, what really happened?
First thing we need to do, is talk about murder in California. Murder in California is grades of responsibility. Murder in California is called PC 187. That's why all the gangsters singing their songs about 187. Penal Code Section 187 is murder in California. So if you're ever somewhere where somebody's talking about 187, go somewhere else. There are 2 degrees of murder in California, first and second. First degree murder is just murder. Murder is, I'm not going to get into the legal terms, malice aforethought. It's intent to kill with premeditation and deliberation. That's first degree murder. Second degree murder is intent to kill that's generally implied through your conduct, like shooting into a building with 50 people in it. Well, you may not intend to kill somebody, guess what you did? That's second degree murder, if you do kill somebody. So second degree murder, first and second, no premeditation and deliberation for second. And then you move down into voluntary manslaughter. And I have to explain this to you, because when we're talking about self-defense, self-defense doesn't mean all the time you walk away. Sometimes you get imperfect self-defense. That means you're not going to walk away, but you're not going to be convicted of murder. You're going to be convicted of voluntary manslaughter. So you can still win your self-defense case and still be subject to punishments for voluntary manslaughter. And I'll show you the instructions. I'll show you the instructions that the jurors were given in this case. And then we'll talk about them. Self-defense, imperfect self-defense. Probably never heard those terms before, but they're crucially important. They're crucially important to me because I need to advise you about what I think is going to happen with this case. And you need to make life decisions on the basis of my advice. I don't live your lives if you're being charged with a crime. I provide the best defense I can and allow you to make choices, informed choices, and then you make them. You know, it's like that Clint Eastwood Dirty Harry movie. Do you feel lucky? How much risk are you willing to absorb? There is always risk. Do you want to go to trial? What do you think is going to happen at trial? You might walk away at trial. Hey, you know, there's a 5–10% chance that we'll get a bad jury and they'll convict you of murder. How much risk are you willing to absorb? And so that's what this case is all about. How much risk was this person willing to absorb? Involuntary manslaughter. Now let's get to the punishments. First degree murder, California, 25 to life. Second degree murder, 15 to life. Voluntary manslaughter, 3, 6, or 11 years. That's right. You only can get one of those three numbers. 3, 6, or 11. If it's mitigated, you get 3. If it's average, you get 6. If it's bad, you get 11. That's how the law looks at it. And involuntary manslaughter, but that's not part of this case. Involuntary manslaughter is like really bad negligence where you killed somebody, or a one-punch fight where somebody falls and hits their head. The fight will be between second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter in that case. But invol is not part of this case. Here's the bad part, and this isn't a surprise. Using a gun in a crime in California is bad. But you know who supported the absolutely catastrophic punishments for guns in California is shooting rights organizations. Why? People that misuse guns should be punished. They make all of us look bad. And so the punishments for guns in California are bad if you can get a judge to impose them. The punishment for using a gun in a murder is 25 to life. That's just for the gun. So first degree murder in California with a gun is 50 to life. And you're going to have to do probably 67, 70%, 80% of that before you're eligible for parole. That means you're doing 35 to 40 years, guaranteed. Unless you're eligible for elderly parole because you're over 55 and you've done 25 years. But there's no possibility you'll be out before 25 years. Second degree murder with a gun in California is 40 years, 40 to life. Not much better. Those numbers with the gun don't attach to voluntary manslaughter. Because what's voluntary manslaughter? Hey, we don't think you're guilty of murder. We're not going to give you life. You are going to get some years, but hey, we got a gun for you. You're getting life for that. So they didn't do that. They put a different gun charge in for voluntary manslaughter that's 3, 4, or 10 years. But look at the voluntary manslaughter. The upper is 11. Look at the gun for voluntary manslaughter. The upper is 10. That means the punishment for voluntary manslaughter could be 21 years for using a gun in California.
Oh, so those add.
Just add 11 plus 10.
I got it.
And any combination. So it could be 3 plus 3, or 3 plus 4, or 3 plus 10, or 6 plus 3, or 6 plus 4, or 6, any combination there. So there's so many options for a judge to choose, or for a DA to give you an option. Go ahead.
Didn't Brown sign something that removed some of the sentencing for using a gun in a crime?
No. Oh,
This
yes.
is in effect.
The 25 to life used to be absolutely mandatory. A judge couldn't strike it. It gave the judge the discretion to change it. So now a judge can take that 25 to life that you get for murder for the gun and make it the 3, 4, 10. So it gave a judge, it didn't eliminate the punishment. It allowed a judge more discretion to deal with the punishment. Because before it was catastrophic. I can't tell, I've probably tried 20 murders in my career in San Diego County. I'll get you in a minute. But I've tried 20 murders. And one of the reasons we went to trial is because in all the gun murders, the offers to settle the case were catastrophic. And the person said, there is no risk for me to absorb. I'm not taking this. I might as well go to trial. It can't get any worse. What was your question, sir?
So, anything else used in a murder other than a gun, you don't get those extra years, I guess?
It's always better to kill someone with your hands in California.
Important safety.
Or a knife.
A knife or a bag?
You know how much a knife adds in California?
1 year.
1 year.
Nice.
Murder with a knife is 26 years to life maximum. Second degree murder with a knife is 16 years to life maximum. Knives are always better than guns. It's the punishment for guns are simply catastrophic and sometimes drive the case. And unfortunately, what are we talking about? We're talking about a gun owners group, gun rights group. We're talking to people that have guns carry guns lawfully with CCWs. So it's likely that your gun, if you're involved in a defensive shooting event, a defensive event, will be part of the case and part of those punishment schemes. It doesn't get any better.
So always carry a cheap gun.
Self-defense is a defense to every charge. Every charge in California. It means you're not guilty. You walk away. So every assaultive charge in California has the ability to use self-defense as a defense if you qualify for it. Imperfect self-defense applies to murder, and it means that you are guilty of voluntary manslaughter. What's the difference between full self-defense and imperfect? I'm going to show you the jury instructions as part of this. We'll just show you exactly what that means and then apply it to this case. What's this case? 2 years ago at 11:45 on a Sunday night in a North County bar. That's like the start of a John Grisham novel. And I wish I'd written down everything I did in my career, because there's just some really interesting stuff that I acquired over 30 plus years of doing this. And this was just one of them. This is a really interesting case. Unfortunately, it affected a few people's lives greatly. This case is about 3 brothers versus 1 plumber. And that's exactly what the defendant was. A 37-year-old plumber with no criminal history except for a 15-year-old drug case that he got diversion on, meaning he didn't plead guilty to it and the case was taken off his record. He worked primarily with the immigrant community, so he got paid in cash. He always carried a lot of cash. That was important to this case. 3 brothers versus 1 plumber. They had never met each other before. Never talked to each other, never seen each other outside of this night. First time. Why is that important? Sometimes when you know things about people, you can use them. Sometimes if you know somebody's dangerous, you get to use that. It's part of your knowledge for self-defense. But these people didn't know each other until somebody whispered something to them in the middle of the fight. And I'll use that as a teaser. We'll show you what that meant when you watch the video. The plumber doesn't have a CCW, so this is where we start off bad. Plumber doesn't have a CCW, but he was applying for one. His 9mm semi-automatic was bought off market. What do we call that? Illegal.
Illegal.
So illegal. So he was carrying an illegal gun illegally. That's how the night started. He had a good explanation. I carry a lot of cash. I had $900 on me this night. I do work, they pay me cash, I don't want to get robbed. That's the reason I only have 4 rounds in the gun.
So innocence
My gun isn't to
is out
shoot
there.
people, my gun is to scare people off if they try to rob me. A good explanation, but still illegal. And what's the problem with doing something illegal as part of a murder case?
Innocence is gone.
You're starting off bad with a jury. You're asking 12 people to forgive your murder. You're shooting, you're killing, whatever you want to call it. You're asking 12 jurors to say, you know what? I'm cool with this. It fits within the law. I understand you're in a bad position. But when you start off illegal, you're behind when you start. And that has to be factored into your decision process. How will the jury respond to that? I don't know. You know, the case I did out in El Cajon where I had that CCW that got charged with assault with a firearm on a loudmouth that was advancing on him, charged by the DA. I did that case, and that was a lawful CCW with a disabled veteran and a great story. That's not what I had here. And so I felt much better about that case because we had better morality than we started with in this case.
Better optics.
He had it because he does cash jobs. We talked about that. Unknown if the brothers had a gun in their vehicle. Plumber believes they did. I'll tell you why he believed that when we watch the video. Both sides have been drinking, but neither side was intoxicated. How do we know that? Blood was drawn from both. We know neither side was intoxicated. Both clearly had had a couple of beers. I think the plumber had had 4 beers over 4 hours, and he was like a 240-pound guy. So he might have been a 0-0 by the time that this all happened. And the soon-to-be dead guy, when they took his blood, he was 0-0. 15 minutes before the shooting, there's an argument inside the restaurant between the 2 brothers and a group of people not involving the plumber. The plumber breaks it up peacefully, but the brothers are saying things to the people in the group that worried the plumber. But he didn't know them, he just broke up the fight, and the brothers walk outside. The 2 brothers are in an argument, and they are not happy. So they call their third brother. We're gonna run through this video first.
Are they in an argument with each other? The two brothers?
No, they're not happy with what happened inside, and they're pacing and calling. We got the call logs. So they're calling their third brother. And the video picks up with the third brother arriving. And this video is enhanced by the district attorney. You'll see, wow, this is pretty far away. It zooms right in. You'll see it zoom in on the fight. Let's watch it one time. Pretty cool, huh? Setting the stage. Senor Chiquito's in the background. Off to the left are the outdoor bathrooms. That's Senor Chiquito's, an important part of the case. I'll explain why in a minute. White truck heading for the open parking space is brother number 3's truck. Brother number 1's truck, which you'll see better, is a red lifted truck off to the right-hand side. Brothers were dressed, boots, chains, they had expensive trucks. That's an important fact. It will become an important fact in a minute.
I already figured that one out.
I always thought, life is a series of, if that light hadn't turned red, if I turned this corner and there'd been a car there and slowed me down for 2 seconds, life is that series of unexplained events spaced by time. If that parking spot hadn't been there, I don't think I'd be here. If he had to look for parking, I don't think this would have happened. Because, and you'll see why in a minute, everything was on a tight time schedule. If he had to drive around to the other side and find parking, probably wouldn't happen. Because everything was integral to what happened. All right, let's watch it. I'll tell you what, I'll narrate through it first.
Oh no, let's see it how they see it.
No sound. Very important to the case, isn't that great? They zoomed in a fixed camera.
Mhm.
After the fact,
When was this again?
2 years ago.
Not as much AI.
Plumber is the guy in the black shirt with his back to the 3 people talking at him with their white writing on it.
The guy holding out, the one that's walking away right now?
No, that was the guy that's standing there.
Oh, I see, okay.
I'll narrate it next, so I just want you to walk through it right now.
Are those the 3 brothers?
3 brothers are off to the right and a friend that just intervened in a white shirt. Plumber punches first. Second disability.
Oh, there it is.
He just got hit in the face with a full glass beer bottle thrown from 3 feet away.
Wow.
Plumber, hit in the face. He has glass, blood, and beer in his eyes and his face. Why is everybody running away? Because the plumber took out his gun and shot into the ground. Ironically, he hit the guy in the leg with a ricochet, who is now crawling towards his truck and getting into the back of his truck. Plumber is off to the left trying to clear the blood, glass, and beer from his eyes when his friend approaches him and whispers something in his ear. You'll see the plumber start walking towards the truck. Friend is behind him.
Oh, one in the dome, right?
Plumber walks away. Third brother in his truck. Looks like he's fleeing the scene. Talks to the second brother at the door. The first brother's dying in the back seat. And decides not to leave the scene. Let's run through it again, and I'll run through it with my narration.
So the one that died was one of the first 2.
The one that died is the one that hit him with the beer bottle and caught the ricochet.
So that was, he
Oops.
wasn't intentionally shot then?
No, there was a scuff mark in the ground. And the medical examiner's report showed that the entry wound was above his knee and the exit wound was below his butt cheek. So you can do the math.
Yeah.
Off the ground
Off
and
your
up,
own.
right through his leg. If that hadn't happened, this probably wouldn't have happened either.
Now, is that the shot that killed him, or was there?
No,
like a
that
second
was the shot that
Oh.
knocked him to the ground, but the plumber didn't see that because he had a big cut across his face and
Right.
was bleeding into his eyes.
Is that asphalt or concrete back there?
It was concrete in front of the store.
Okay.
All right, so let's go through and I'll slow down to the pieces that are super important. You see the two guys off to the right of the truck walking towards it are the two brothers.
Right.
Their other brother is now just pulled in. They go up to the passenger side window, talk to the brother about who knows what. There are very few witnesses left in this case. I'll explain that in a minute also. Brother gets out of the truck. Probably one of the most important scenes in the case. Look at the two guys that are walking towards the bathroom. The plumber is the guy closest to the wall. The guy next to him, nobody knows. Just a dude that was going to the bathroom at the same time as the plumber. Nobody never know who that guy is. No statement was ever taken from him. But where are they looking? They're looking at the bathrooms. They're just looking straight ahead.
Yeah.
Watch what happens. Both their heads turned at the same time.
That's because somebody called their
That's
attention.
because somebody started yelling, according to the plumber, and this is what he would testify to, somebody was yelling, "You're fucking done. You're done.
Okay.
We're gonna end you." Who knows why? All he did was break up a fight inside.
Right.
But somebody took offense to that. Now that's 2 or 3 of the 3 brothers.
And that guy, the one that has
Well, you'll see
nobody
him
knows who it
disappear
is.
in a minute. He's trying to talk him out of it, but look at the body language of the plumber. Watch his hands. He just doesn't understand exactly what's going on. Remember, there's no sound. I create my narrative. The district attorney can create whatever narrative they want, but I got better witnesses. Why? I've got the guy that did the shooting.
Right.
And they've got a dead brother, a brother that fled to Mexico, and the brother that drove the dead brother to the hospital, who lied his ass off to the cops and eliminated the third brother from the case entirely. And it's interesting why in a minute.
Who's the person pointing right there?
The person pointing is just the guy walking to the bathroom.
Okay.
Nothing to do with this case.
Plumber's the guy with the white on his shirt, writing on his shirt.
He's the one with his back to the 2 fish taco thing,
This
right?
is the plumber.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a deal.
So the,
Okay, here's the next important part. A friend, see that guy who's not involved, he just wants out of there. He doesn't want involved in this. Why didn't the plumber leave at that point? He said, I want to turn my back on these guys. I was afraid they were just going to jump me. So he goes, all I'm thinking now is that I'm going to get in a fight with these 2 guys. Maybe 3, but definitely 2. So I'm already behind.
Where's the plumber's vehicle at this point? Do we know?
Other side of the other side. That becomes important in about a minute. You see this guy in the white shirt off to the left walking towards? He is a friend of the brothers. He now intervenes in the fight, and you'll see the plumber push him off them a couple of times.
When they were talking,
Hold on for a minute.
okay.
What's the plumber going to say is happening right now? Now I've got a third guy. Now I think I'm getting in a fight with 3 people. And I think, notwithstanding the fact I think I can hold my own against 1, maybe 2, I think I'm going to get beat down with these 3. And they're saying things that worry me, like, this is more than just, this is personal, and I don't know why. I never met these people. So, in his mind, what he says is, I have to, as we say in the military, gain the initiative. And he gains the initiative by punching first. He said that when he saw that guy walk away off to his right, he kind of lost sight of him. One of the brothers was walking back to his truck, and he didn't know why. And he goes, when I lost sight of him, I thought he was coming around behind me, because I just didn't know what to expect. He goes, as soon as I thought that guy was coming around, I said, it's on. I got to gain the initiative. I've got to get the first blow in here. Okay, but we're behind, right? He's got an illegal gun carried illegally, and he's starting the fight. So no matter what this is, he started this fight. I'll show you the jury instruction about starting fights and what that does to your self-defense.
Is there a reason why the other 2 strangers that walked off, he didn't get them involved, maybe ask them to call 911?
Well, I mean,
If he knew something bad was about to happen?
in the middle of the argument, you're doing what you're doing.
Cops don't come for harsh language.
All right, so he punches. The fight will now shift to the right-hand side of the white truck. I'll try and do it in stages here.
And it just happens.
Within 7 seconds of the first punch, the most significant event in the case occurs, at least for the plumber.
Is it the enhancement that darkens the screen?
Yeah, it darkened it.
Okay.
Okay, see his arm go up? That's a full glass Modelo beer bottle, full, that is now gonna be launched with a full overhand throw from 3 feet away from the plumber's face. And
So
it's
the bad guy, I'm saying it that way, but he's got the bottle.
The
and
soon-to-be
he's-
dead guy
guy.
throws a glass bottle in his face.
That's one of the brothers.
Yes.
One of the brothers,
Okay.
the soon-to-be dead brother, soon to be hit with the bullet brother on the ricochet.
Right.
Plumber gets hit in the face, you'll see a bit of a beer explosion, glass explosion.
Ooh, that hurt, that looked bad.
He had a cut down the middle of his face
Is there a good way to get a beer?
afterwards. Got pictures of it, cut right down the middle.
Yeah, one
And
that
he
just-
said he almost lost
Wow.
conscious at that point. He didn't know what was happening. But he thought at that point that he was about to either get stabbed in the throat with what was left of the beer bottle, or he was gonna get stabbed or beaten to the ground. He goes, as soon as they hit me with the beer bottle, I thought I was getting killed. In his head, that's what he said. So what did he do? When he was still getting pulled and pushed, you can see everything's still going. He's still getting pulled and pushed, trying to figure out. He takes out his gun and fires one round directly into the ground in front of him. You'll see people start to flee.
One of his 4 rounds.
Yes.
One of his 4. So he's shot, people are running. Why did he shoot into the ground? He would testify, I couldn't shoot anywhere else because I didn't
Couldn't
know who to
see.
shoot.
Yeah.
I didn't know who was attacking me and I didn't want to just shoot randomly. So I
what
shot
was
into the ground.
purpose of the shot?
What?
What was the purpose of it?
Scare people away.
Warning shot.
A
Okay.
warning shot. He fired a warning shot into the ground because
Oh,
he
he's
wasn't
smart.
comfortable with shooting the gun out because he couldn't see.
Was he, I was gonna say, was he even able to see at that
No.
time?
No.
Because of the blood?
Glass
No.
blood, and no doubt his blood was recovered forensically in a pool right on that spot. They recovered blood, the blood DNA to him. So he clearly was bleeding on that spot significantly.
Did witnesses confirm the blindness? The face
No.
Well, they wouldn't be able to
There were
confirm that.
there were only 3 witnesses in the case, and 2 of them were useless, and one of them was the guy in the white shirt. Now I'll explain why in a minute. He became kind of useless. All right, it'll clear up a little bit. Okay, look what's happening off to the right. That guy that's the guy that got hit in the leg
With the ricochet.
with the ricochet, knocks him to the ground, and he's crawling around the back of the truck. The plumber doesn't know that. He didn't see him go down. He didn't see him get hit. He didn't see him disappear behind the cars.
Doesn't see anything.
Right. So he's clearing, but here's what happens right now. The plumber's friend gets in his ear right at this moment in time and said, these guys are cartel. They're gonna fucking kill you. So his friend says that in his ear. His friend is not a witness. We'll explain that in a minute too. But the plumber will say, my friend said that. I interviewed the friend before he shut up and decided not to be a witness. And the friend confirmed that he told the plumber, these guys are going to kill you. So right now he's standing there bleeding. I said, why didn't you just leave? Because I can't go backwards because my problem is not all those poor people that are inside's problem. I'm not taking this, whatever this is, into the restaurant. There's other people there that have nothing to do with this. I can't go right because I think the brother on the right's going to his truck to get a gun. I can't go left because I think they're going to get a gun out of that truck because I've seen them around that truck when they were after the argument. He goes, I don't know what to do. And he goes, I'm kind of shaky. Like I can't move quickly. And then I saw them moving towards the back door of their truck. He goes, I decided at that point they were going on, why would anybody go in the back of the truck? Why, if they were trying to get away, why weren't they going in the front of the truck? I didn't understand that. And so when I saw them open the back door of the truck, I said, I'm gonna get shot. I gotta move towards whatever's happening and prevent me from being shot. Because I didn't know if I was gonna shoot anybody, I just knew I was gonna stop them from getting a gun. So, one of the things is that took about 30 seconds. From the time he fired into the ground to the time he's walking, and remember, you'll see the plumber, and he's gonna walk. But this was a long period of time to think about it.
Was that guy in the black truck?
The guy in
a
the-
witness?
No, who knows? They all disappeared.
Mm.
It was like they interviewed 20 people, didn't see nothing.
Of course.
You know, there's nobody wants involved. Plumber right now is just walking down the sidewalk right by that SUV. You'll see him. Right behind him is his friend who whispered in his ear.
Had anybody called the cops at that point?
As soon as the shot was fired, the cop was on scene. If you see just off to the far left of the screen, there's a Del Taco down there. The cop's in line at the Del Taco.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
He was on scene in a minute and 40 seconds from the shooting.
So is the friend whispers, has the friend already whispered in his ear at this
Yes.
point?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
it's already done. The reason he's walking towards the car is the friend said they're gonna get guns and kill you. He goes to the car and sees the person getting in the back. There's a brother who is unarmed standing outside the door. I asked him why. He was going to testify. I didn't shoot that guy because he didn't have anything in his hands. If he'd had something in his hands, I may have shot him. I just pushed him out of the way because I wanted to stop the person going in the back of the car from getting a gun. Now look what happens. He hits the person in the car with the door. Because he says he sees him reaching under the seat. Again, this just could have been, no gun was ever recovered from that truck. That truck was driven directly to Palomar Hospital down the 78. Cops were at Palomar Hospital on a different case. That truck was sterilized from the minute it arrived at Palomar Hospital. But it doesn't mean that there's not a gun lying in a ditch on the 78.
Right.
That was a 15-minute drive.
Yeah.
And so the plumber would say, I never saw a gun. You know what? You know, it's one of the things for me is that people that have the opportunity to say things to help themselves and don't say things to help themselves are very honest people. He could have easily said, when I looked in the back, I saw him pulling a gun out of the back seat. Who would have contradicted that?
Right.
He just said, I saw him reaching under the seat. I thought he was going for a gun. So not adding that fact was really important for me.
Right.
Because I can now get to argue, he's just an honest guy. All right, so he hits the brother number one with the door. Brother number one's in the back seat reaching under. Fires one round through the seat, through the back. 2, 3. One round went through the door. Out, never recovered. 2 rounds went into the brother. 1 round was recovered on the back seat. 1 round was recovered out of him. So he bled out on the back seat. The shot in the leg wouldn't have killed him. The shot they received crossed his body going through major organs. That would have killed him. So there's no doubt that the shooting killed the brother. We're not done with the video yet. Plumber walks away. Prosecutor made a lot of this. You know, why is he walking to the truck and why is he walking away? You know, and the response to that is because he can't run because the dead guy hit him in the face with a beer bottle and he's still not right.
He still has to go to the bathroom.
I didn't think of that.
More so now than ever.
All right, so
He still has to
this
go to the
this
bathroom.
becomes an important part of the case, and it will explain to you the witness situation.
Well, this guy's leaving.
Brother number 3 is leaving, right, in his truck. Stops for about 5 seconds and talks to brother number 2, the unarmed guy standing by the back door. Brother number 1 is dying on the seat in the back of the car. Brother number 2 says something to brother number 3. And then 5 seconds later, brother number 3 decides he's not living and not leaving. What he's going to do is turn his car around, head around the back of Senor Chiquito's, accelerate to 40 miles an hour and run the plumber over, putting him in a coma for 3 weeks. Wow. Then flee to Mexico. So brother number 3 is not a witness in the case. He is somebody who has an outstanding murder warrant, attempted murder warrant out for him. Brother number 2 lies his ass off when he gets to the hospital and eliminates brother number 3 from the case entirely.
Not
we
knowing there's a camera that's got.
Not knowing there's a camera that's showing everything that happened. Plumber goes up over the truck, lands on the ground. Plumber's friend at that, and so now there's like 40, 60 seconds before the cop's on scene, because he's on his way from Del Taco. When that guy's getting run over, Plumber's getting run over, the cop is being told, you need to go over there. And it took him 30, 40 seconds to get on scene. So what does the friend decide to do?
Grab
What
the
do
gun.
friends do for each other?
Grabs the gun.
Friends throw the gun away. He
That's
kicks
awesome.
the gun off the ground, walks up to the lawnmower repair shop. How do we know that? The lawnmower repair shop has a camera fading right out the window. Walks up to the lawnmower repair shop and throws the gun over the back of the lawnmower repair shop, where it's recovered the next morning. In the back. Cops had no idea where that gun went until the owner of lawnmower repair said, "There's some dude in front of my store going like this." They look in the back, they get the gun, no rounds in it.
Obviously.
4 shots fired,
Fired 4.
gone, 4 rounds in the gun. And the magazine was in the gun. So he didn't have enough time to strip the rounds, so they just assumed that was true. So now friend is not a witness. He is a accessory after the fact to murder, who can't testify and won't testify unless the district attorney gives him immunity from prosecution, which they won't do. Why? They don't want the friend testifying that he whispered in the defendant's ear, "These guys are about to kill you." They don't want that supported.
Why wouldn't the prosecution want, because that would be something about, that would be
It would hurt their case.
inciting them.
It would hurt their case. It would support that the defendant had been told these guys were going to kill you and make his
Oh, I
actions
see.
seem reasonable.
Right.
They don't want any support for that statement. They want to force the defendant to testify. If the plumber didn't testify and the friend did, the plumber may not need to testify.
Right.
Friend could cover it. They don't want the friend to cover it, so they don't give him immunity. Therefore, the friend doesn't become a witness and the friend's out of the case. What's your question?
And what evidence did the friend have to think that they were saying they're gonna kill you? And it was just him.
The way they looked and the cars they drove. They
Doesn't
looked
make-
like cartel, and this was a cartel smuggler, drug dealer, biker bar. That's what it was.
But it doesn't
Sells
make any
great,
difference
yeah,
if it-
great
if-
fish tacos.
But they got good tacos.
Couldn't you subpoena the guy to make it?
No, he has a right to be free from self-incrimination. He's never going to testify. I can't subpoena anybody that's going to incriminate themselves unless the DA gives them immunity, which they weren't going to do.
So what does that mean for the friend then? If he's an accessory, how can he be an accessory? Because that would mean that he would have to testify, which the prosecution doesn't want to have happen. But you want him in there because it supports the case.
Right.
But he doesn't want to testify, and the prosecuting attorney doesn't want him to testify. So why don't
I can't
he?
get-
He never goes to court. Then he's free.
Correct.
He walks around. Nobody.
Unless he gets charged by the prosecutor.
That's
Right.
what the Fifth Amendment does.
No, but the prosecutor doesn't want to charge him because then he goes on the stand and says, "This is
No,
what I
if the
told him."
prosecutor could charge him, it wouldn't matter. He wouldn't testify anyway. He still maintains his right to be free from
It doesn't
self-incrimination.
support his case.
All right, so I got to move forward. All right, so you're thinking, okay, well, how about that guy in the white shirt that intervened in the fight? Why isn't he a witness? Because when the cops got to the scene, they noticed that guy was a bit of an asshole, and they detained him, and they took his phone. And when they recovered his phone, they downloaded it, and they pulled a video off his phone. And the video was that guy in the white shirt standing, filming the plumber, dying, essentially, on the ground, while the cops just got there, and narrating it, going, "I take pleasure in what they did to you."
Oh my God.
So you can see how that would affect his reliability as a witness. And so he's a crap witness. Every other witness says, "Don't know what happened." Brother's in Mexico. Other brother lied his ass off to the police. The only reliable witness that was really left in this case is the video. And there's no audio. I craft my own narrative, as long as I can support it. And the prosecutor can do whatever the hell they want with their crappy witnesses. You know, but still, at the end of the day, the plumber shot somebody in the back seat of a car, and there's no proof that person was ever armed. And he started the case carrying an illegal gun illegally. And he punched somebody to start the fight. Escalated by the brothers, but the ball got rolling by the plumber. All right, so let's move forward.
Was, really quick, I know he said that he hit the punch to get ahead of things, but was something said or done that would even slightly, make the punch
Yeah,
justified?
he was saying these guys are telling me they're gonna kill me. You know, I thought we were getting in a fight and I couldn't be the one on the receiving end at the beginning. That was his take. I had to gain the initiative. All right, so this is this is what the jury gets. This is exactly the law of self-defense. California criminal jury instructions. I've given you the facts of the case. These are the rules. These are the rules for the case. Defendant's not guilty of murder or manslaughter if he was justified in killing. He reasonably believed he was in imminent danger of being killed or suffering great bodily injury, or imminent danger of being victim of an assault. He reasonably believed that the immediate use of deadly force was necessary. DA was going to challenge that fact by saying it took him 30 seconds to get to the car. Why couldn't he have just disappeared? And then the last one was, and this was one of our bigger problems, the defendant used no more force than was reasonably necessary. So did he need to shoot the person in the back seat that we don't know had a gun and we don't know was armed? And that would be a question for a jury. Here are a couple of parts of this that's really interesting. The jurors stand in the shoes of the plumber. When deciding whether the defendant's beliefs were reasonable, consider all the circumstances known and appeared to the defendant, consider whether a reasonable person in a similar situation would have believed. If the defendant's beliefs were reasonable, the danger does not need to have actually existed. California gun laws suck. California's self-defense law is great. Great. The best thing available. I always hope I got viable self-defense cases, and I hope I got a client with guts who's willing to absorb risk. Because you can never get self-defense vindicated unless you risk getting convicted of murder. Understand that. There's no free pass. You're being tried for murder. Do you want to take the chance of getting self-defense and walk away? How lucky do you feel? How much risk can you absorb? And here's something people don't believe. Look at this paragraph. A defendant is not required to retreat. He is entitled to stand his ground. How many of you knew before you came in here California was a stand your ground state? Only half of you. California is a stand your ground state. Stand your ground is in the criminal defense jury instruction. You do not have to retreat, and better than that. You're entitled to pursue an assailant until the danger of death or great bodily injury, if it's necessary, even if safety could have been achieved by you retreating. You're allowed to pursue. Wasn't that written for this case?
Mm-hmm.
So what am I thinking? You know, it's like I'm singing Handel's Messiah when I get this case.
Yeah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Well, and the judge gave the jury these instructions, right?
This is the instructions the jurors would be given, right? And this is one of the most important things that they bury in the bottom. Why? Because they're the government.
And this is statewide.
This is statewide. This is the standard pattern jury instruction given statewide in California. I modified this and got the judge to modify minor sections. But this is what people are going to get.
If you pursue an assailant to get rid of the danger, that doesn't mean though you can shoot him in the back, right? If he's
You
running
cannot. I mean, you would have to explain why it was necessary, why they were still dangerous as you were shooting them in the back. As in, they were running away and firing over their shoulder. I get to shoot them in the back.
So, my understanding up until tonight was you have to have innocence, imminence, avoidance, which we just discussed, proportionality, and reasonableness, right?
Avoidance is a
Is taken out
morally
by-
relative term.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what these instructions say. Jurors are human beings. If the instructions conflict with their morality, they're not going to care what the instructions say. As in, you could have left. I don't care that the law says you're allowed to chase. You could have left. There was this pathway, this opportunity. You did this. And so instructions sometimes don't matter to jurors, and you really have to have a good story. I mean, I really had to bank on, I got to convince these jurors that it was the right choice to move towards that car. Not just that the law allowed him to move towards that car, that he had no other option but to move towards the car.
Well, we also saw how dangerous the route to his truck became.
Yeah. Look at this. It's the government's job to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, you had no right to self-defense. You don't have to prove that you had a right to self-defense. They have to disprove you had a right to self-defense. That's why I say these instructions are great for
I
people in
love
California.
this. I love these.
Okay? I forgot I gotta do it up here. You know, and I'm hoping I don't get another gas station case. That'll be number 3. I gotta get on Lucky sometime.
The thing that I hate is how there's always a vehicle in the way,
It's time to-
and it's like right there in the middle of it.
You need to get
Okay, so what is
sponsorship from
imperfect
that.
self-defense? A killing that would otherwise be murder is reduced to voluntary manslaughter if the defendant killed a person because he acted in imperfect self-defense. And those are the elements. What are the elements of it? He really believed he needed to defend himself, but the way he did it was unreasonable. So if you really believe you need to defend yourself, but you do it in an unreasonable way, who determines unreasonable? The jury. You're not fully walking away, because your full self-defense requires a reasonable response. If you have an unreasonable response, but you truly believe what you're doing is correct, then you get imperfect self-defense.
Okay.
That's the difference.
Isn't there also a pretrial hearing where the judge decides whether or not the self-defense, the self-defense defense is going to be allowed?
There's
How did they get past
almost no instance where they won't allow it if there's any substantial evidence to support it.
You haven't talked about the illegal gun carried illegally.
Well, that doesn't affect the self-defense.
Yeah. Doesn't that affect innocence?
Does the fact that there's 3 against 1 make a difference?
Yeah, and I'll show you that in a minute. The fact he had an illegal gun is a factor to be brought in as to whether what he was doing was reasonable, not whether he's going to get the instruction.
So it's not considered he was committing a crime?
No, because he's not committing an assaultive crime. It's not directed at them.
I see, okay.
You know, it's
Defensive.
it's basically
So it's not like during a robbery or something?
it's an administrative crime.
Gotcha. Okay, well, it's good to know there's.
All right, last one, and then we'll come back to and this was interesting too. Look at the bottom. A person who starts a fight has a right to self-defense only if he actually in good faith tries to stop fighting and indicates by word or conduct that he's done fighting and wants to cease fighting. Written by somebody that doesn't live in the real world.
Right.
Hey, bro, are we okay now? No, I'm out. I'm out.
Nah,
Are we
bro,
cool?
we're
Are
good.
we cool?
Let's look it out.
I know I tried to knock you out, but we're cool, right? Unless, look at the bottom. However, if the defendant used only non-deadly force and the opponent responded with sudden and deadly force, the defendant could not withdraw. The defendant has the right to defend himself with deadly force. That could have been written for this case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the pattern instruction. I've never had a case that matched the pattern instructions. And look at the top. Sometimes you can get manslaughter based on provocation. If he'd shot him after he hit him in the face with a beer bottle, probably voluntary manslaughter. But prosecutors hedging his whole case on that 30 to 40 seconds after the shot's fired into the ground, when he walks towards the back of the car and fires 3 rounds into a guy that we don't know had anything on him. That was the base for the prosecutor's case. All right, let me go back to the PowerPoint. All right. We've gone through those. What do you think?
Not guilty.
First degree, second degree murder. What did the prosecutor offer to settle this case? They offered second degree murder until the day before trial, when they offered voluntary manslaughter and 21 years.
Wow.
You're a 37-year-old plumber with 2 teenage kids. What's your choice? How much risk are you willing to absorb? Your lawyer's telling you that they think that the highest likelihood outcome of the case is either imperfect self-defense or an acquittal, and that there's a 10% maybe chance that you'll get convicted of first or second degree murder, depending upon the jury that we get.
Trial, baby.
He didn't make that choice.
What?
He pled guilty.
He took 21 years. I don't live people's lives. I don't make their decisions for them. I provide them advice. But when the trial's over and somebody's looking at 50 years to life in prison, I go have a 15-year-old scotch in my house and I think about what I could have done better. I don't live his life.
What is
So-
21 year sentence?
He'll do, he
actually
had
mean?
2 years in already. He's been in 2 years. He'll do 11 or 12 actual more.
What was your recommendation?
What's that?
What was your recommendation?
My recommendation was to go to trial, but I don't make those decisions. Can you guarantee me I'm not going to be convicted of murder? No, I can't guarantee that.
You think you would have gotten off?
I think the highest likelihood was an acquittal or an voluntary manslaughter conviction, either through provocation or through imperfect self-defense. That was the highest likelihood for me. But remember, if he got convicted of voluntary manslaughter, the judge could have given him 21 years. And so he factored that into his decision. So what's the chance of voluntary manslaughter? I don't know, 25, 30%, 30, 40% on a walk. Get a good jury. Shooting an unarmed person in the backseat of the car. Remember, we're starting off, and he looks at all the deficiencies. What are the deficiencies? Illegal gun carried illegally. You started the fight, notwithstanding what the jury instruction says. Back to our discussion about morality versus instruction. Is a juror going to believe he had time to walk away? Should he have walked away? Should he have not shot an unarmed person through the window of a car? No matter how dirty everybody else in this case is, no matter how those scumbags tried to kill him after it was over. This is real life. Do you want to absorb that risk? And some people don't. The guy that I had in El Cajon absorbed the risk. He absorbed the risk of a lifetime felony. This disabled veteran who said, no, this is wrong. I'm going to trial. He probably wasn't going to jail, but he's going to be a felon for the rest of his life. It was non-reducible.
Well, and let's also consider the fact that moving away from the legal aspect of this to the gun aspect of this, as a gun owner, he was carrying a sometimes operational firearm with only 4 rounds, and he might have come up against 3 cartel members.
Correct.
So there was some questionable decision making in that.
Last question, I got to end. I've been doing this for an hour, I'm sorry.
The read on the jurors, what'd you see?
We never got to a jury. Pled guilty, day of trial.
Oh, they didn't, so they didn't, you're right.
I had called the tune, band was warming up, I had my dancing boots on.
So if he'd gone guilty the second one,
Yeah.
what would, he still could have gotten?
The judge could have
21
given
years?
him, realistically, the judge would have given him between 10 and 21.
Okay, so it would have been.
Let's say he pled and got 21.
He took the 21 to avoid the small chance he would have been in prison for the rest of his natural life until he was 65 or 70 years old.
Just you personally, as a citizen, as a gun owner, as just a regular guy, what do you think he should have served, if anything?
What do I think he could have served?
Should.
He should have served no more than 10 years. I think that a fair settlement on this case would have been low term on the ball for 3 and low term on the gun for 3 for 6 years. That was fair to me. I think the government took advantage of his decision making. They took advantage of that he was not a criminal. They took advantage of that he wasn't willing to take that risk. I think what the government did in this case is outrageous. This is an outrageous case for me. And my client took 21 years and didn't deserve it, although he deserved something.
I think another quick lesson here,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but another quick lesson here is when you're in a situation, I think we walk through life thinking, hey, we're good guys, and cops love us because we're good guys, and the DA's a cop and she's gonna love us because we're good guys. They're not on your side. They're doing their job, they're not on your side.
They're collecting information for primarily prosecution.
Right.
They need to meet the elements of the event, the first degree murder elements. The questions they're gonna ask you are to establish those elements.
Go your one better. Stay out of arguments that don't involve you. And I say that
I
seriously.
don't know if he could have done anything on this case.
Well, no, but I mean, if he didn't break up the
Broke up the fight
argument,
in the first
hang on.
place.
We're talking about the argument inside the bar. Should have just stayed out of
That's
it.
if you wanna call me.
Just stay out
Okay,
of it.
Gary. Alright, are you gonna
Thanks,
stay
Gary.
around a little bit for TV? Okay, my
Michael, were you gonna
Thank you.